Hey, y'all. We are going to have a really great live right now. Rosie O'Donnell is going to be joining us. Daniel Forchio with Represent Justice is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about my new short film, Whispers Beyond Bars. And this is a new mic setup for me. Can y'all hear me okay? I'm texting the folks to let them know. Phoenix, hi, I see you. Welcome. Texting Rosie and Daniel to let them know. Oh, Vincent, great. I didn't even realize you changed your name. Welcome in, y'all. Rosie and I haven't done a live together, and so hopefully it goes really smooth and we get logged on really quickly and easily. And also I want to silent. Okay. Hi, Paula. Nice to see you. Hey, y'all. Hey. We're going to be looking for Rosie to come onto the live and Daniel. Let me see. I'm not seeing the Represent Justice page. Oh, I see Rosie. Rosie.
Hi,
Hey.
sweetheart. How are you?
Oh, let me turn my volume up. How silly of me. There you are. Hi.
Yeah, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to do it.
We figured it out. I'm really proud of us, actually.
I know. I don't have an assistant here. It's just me, and I'm very happy we were able to do it.
Yeah, me too. And Daniel is trying to get on, I think, from the Represent Justice page.
Okay, I wish I could tell you how to help him, but I don't know.
Guest on. Okay, I'm looking for him.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know how it goes, but
Yeah, well, I got you on here, so I feel confident.
well, don't feel that confident because it was probably, very much the stroke of luck.
I'm really excited for y'all folks that are hopping on. We are going to be talking about my new short film, Whispers Beyond Bars.
Great film. Really well done, Marci. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. And we are we have a special guest that's going to be joining us, the executive director for Represent Justice. And we are trying to get him on the live now. Oh, I see him. I also see my kiddo in the comments. And
Hello,
so
kiddo.
There we go.
There we go. Wonderful.
There we go. Hello, Marci. Hello, Rosie.
Hi, Daniel.
I see your logo, but I don't see you.
There we go. Okay.
There you are. Hello.
All righty.
Look at us.
Look
at
at
us
us in the 21st century.
This is like a miracle. Without an assistant, we all did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being had.
100%. And nice sweater.
Thank you. Limited edition.
That's
Represent
right.
Justice. Excellent. Had to represent.
100%. So happy to be here, and Rosie's going to take the lead, but I just wanted to welcome folks in and tell you all that we are talking about my short film, Whispers Beyond Bars. Now, some of y'all, actually a lot of y'all, hopped on when I made that when I made the link live. A lot of y'all hopped on, and I appreciate y'all so much for watching. Some of you all are here at the live and you have not watched the film yet, and there is an opportunity to watch it. My moderators that are in the live, when I put the link in there to watch the film, I hope that you'll pin the link. I appreciate y'all so very much. And Rosie is probably, oh, there you are.
I don't know what happened. I just was like, I don't know. I clicked somewhere and then I got back. So I'm
I
glad.
already know. I already know. So I'll kind of let you take it from here if you're comfortable, Rosie.
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's rock and roll.
Let's go.
Okay, well, this is a wonderful short film, and being in the entertainment industry for so many years, I've seen people who try to do this with their first ever attempt, and they never get anywhere close to this. And in fact, Marci, we've been friends for many years now, and when you said that you were going to make this, I remember thinking, oh, well, that'll be like a good effort, but like I didn't expect what you delivered, and I was very, very blown away by what the film has to say and what you brought to it with all of your experience being somebody who was sent to prison for crimes that many men had done as well, but you were the only one who paid for it. Similar to Ghislaine Maxwell, although I'm not comparing you to her in any capacity, but here were many, many men who abused and horrifically tortured children, and the only person paying for that crime so far is a woman.
Right.
And so I was very blown away by the beauty of this and the truth of this, and to try to say it from a woman's point of view. And that's why this film really moved me. And I was very, very much desiring to help you in any capacity and to get many people to see it as possible, as many people to see it as possible. So, what's happening in the prison system is very pathetic, and it doesn't really do anything to help people get their lives together. It does the opposite. And if you can survive 10 years in prison as you did, it's pretty miraculous. And I'm very proud of you for how you have led your life since getting out, and how you have never turned your back on the population from which you used to be a part of, in order to show the reality of what that is like. And as you know, Mars, I have a daughter who is in prison now. She is 28 years old, and she has just started, and she's in 23-hour lockdown and has an hour a day. I'm not exactly sure why that is. And it's very difficult to get her to explain why that is, but we're hoping that we'll figure that out as time goes on. But to explain to people what the truth is of family members and how they are affected by incarceration of a mother. And that's really what your story is about. And it's very beautiful. And I'm very proud of you for doing what you did with this first incarnation of you in this field. And did you ever take any classes on film history, or like it just seemed to me like it would have been as if you were saying, I'm going to do balloon animals.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, Mars, good. Let me know how it's going, and say hi to your wife and your kids. And, and then you deliver this like on a silver platter for everyone. And it's a beautiful film that tells the reality of what happens to a family when incarceration happens for the mother.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that, for all of that, Rosie, and for the beautiful question about like had I been trained, and I think that my storytelling online, I knew that I wanted to take it to the next level, and I looked at film schools, and I got into a film school and was so excited to be going to LA Film School when they did the background check on me and saw that felony background, they withdrew my acceptance offer. And so 2 months after that happened, I got into the program at Represent Justice. And it really was the universe looking out for me and the voices of, I hope that the voices of women who were incarcerated in Texas prisons. And Daniel, who's joined us, is the executive director of Represent Justice. And I'll tell you, it was a film school. It was a very intensive year-long training. And Rosie, I stayed at your house several times when I was there in LA training with them. And it was virtual, in person, and so I think maybe this would be a good time, really, for you to explain, Daniel, about the program and what it is Represent Justice does.
And how
Thank you,
wonderful the
Marci.
program is. And I'm very happy that you're here, Daniel, to talk about what exactly this program offers to women who have been incarcerated and are looking to change their life in a major way.
Thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Marci. It's so great to be here with you both, and what a time to be talking about storytelling and who gets to shape narrative. I started Represent Justice 6 years ago. I and some others were helping to run a film campaign around the film Just Mercy, which was a film adaptation of Bryan Stevenson's book, Just Mercy. And Bryan Stevenson, incredible, just advocate, lawyer, leader, founded the Equal Justice Initiative and has been trying to get, sentencing relief for people all around the country in Alabama and in other places that are hardest hit by incarceration for a long time. And during that film campaign, I met the most amazing people, real life, everyday people who've been impacted by the justice system. And all those people would simply do is right after a screening of this film, they would share their story to audiences, to theaters all around the country. And in every case, what they had to say just blew away audiences. There were no questions about the film. There were no questions about the making of the film. It was all about, I cannot believe what happened to you. And also, something similar happened to my cousin. Something similar happened to my uncle. And so the power of those firsthand stories was striking. And I thought to myself, why do we not just share stories about the justice system directly from the voices who've been people who've been impacted all the time? You know, why does it take a film, a major motion picture to do this? Why can't this just be the everyday way that people have dialogue and conversation about the justice system? And so I started Represent Justice. We're a national nonprofit, and one of the primary things that we do and have done over the years is to help people who've been impacted by the prison system develop tools and confidence, receive compensation, mental health support, production training. You know, we're not a film school, but we really try to invest in people's authorship and ability to share their story. And it's very simple. What if everyone formed their opinions about the justice system, about the legal system, about punishment, about redemption by listening to people who've been impacted by it? How much more, how different would our laws be? How different would our society be? And the reason that I say that this is incredibly timely is because if we look all around the country right now, think about how different our perspectives would be if all we had to rely on were politicians or state actors to tell
Yes.
us what's happening in communities. The justice system is exactly like that. And so most people don't have an opportunity to form an opinion up close. And that's why stories like Marci's is so incredibly important. Folks go through a 12-month program with all of these technical skills and trainings and support. We make sure we compensate them because we know that they're spending time and making a choice to be there. They produce brilliant, beautiful films as a capstone project of being a part of the program. And then we support the Impact Campaign, trying to make connections, help them to screen their film for policymakers or maybe community leaders or whatever the case might be. Basically, the way that they want to share their story, the way they want to shape it, the way that they want to use it to impact audiences. We've produced almost 40 films that way, directly with impacted people. And it's so incredibly special to just be here talking about one of my favorites, Whispers Behind Bars, and just supporting Marci. So it's a program I love. The work is incredible. It's super important, super timely, and that's what we do at Represent Justice.
Well, thank you so much. That's really beautiful. And it's so needed. It's so necessary, especially now when, as somebody who's just recently entered into the prison system for my child, to feel so overwhelmed at all of the challenges that happen to people who are incarcerated. It's been a wonderful tool to use, Represent Justice, to watch those films and to see just exactly what goes on from the point of view of people who have lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, vital for everyone. Now, Marci, I want to ask you, did you ever think to yourself, oh, I want to be a filmmaker? I mean, I've known you for a couple years now, and I mean, I remember when you told me, Marci, I was like, what? It's hard to make movies, and she's gonna think she can just do this, and you did, You did, and it's beautiful. The film is beautiful. The film is so necessary, and so many people don't know the truth about why their parents were incarcerated. And how did this story come to you, Marci?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. I did not. I remember being in prison. I had made parole and my mom came to visit and she said, "When you get out, what are you going to do?" And I remembered, I knew obviously like my kids. I remember being in prison thinking, okay, I want to wrestle with my kids. I want to love on my grandbabies and all of that. But in that moment, my answer was, I don't know what it looks like, but I have to help the people that are still here. And, there was this realization of these incredible people, women and trans men that I was locked up with that I might not ever see again, that I had lived with for 10 years. They became my family. And just realizing that in there, you don't have much of a voice. Now they're starting to get creative and finding their voices from inside, which is incredible. But and so I didn't know it looked like this. I didn't know it looked like filmmaking. For me, it looked like storytelling, and filmmaking is an extension of storytelling. And so why did I choose a film that is the intersection of motherhood, incarceration, and pregnancy? When I was locked up, when I got incarcerated, I got taken away from my kids, and I had 2 babies in diapers still, and I had 3 in middle school. And in those kind of situations, I think that it's human nature to look around and see who has it worse than you. And who had it worse than me are the women that were having their babies inside of those prison walls.
Yes.
So when it came to the story, I knew from our first cohort, Daniel, you might remember, but I knew the topic. It was in my heart. It was there. It never wavered the entire time. Sometimes I think storytellers go back and forth. Which part of their story do they want to tell? Which part do they think? And I knew this in my heart the whole time. And I was able to interview 20 women who had their babies inside of Texas prisons and jails. And I interviewed women that had their babies after legislation was passed in 2019 saying that they didn't have to be shackled. I intentionally found women after that point. And I wrote a narrative and I wrote a collective story. What's interesting, Rosie, is Texas has a law saying, hey, you don't have to be shackled when you deliver a baby. Wild that they have to have a law for that.
Yeah.
17 out of the 20 women I interviewed delivered their babies while they were shackled.
Unreal, really unreal. And if people only knew the reality of what happens to women who are pregnant in prison and, the effect that it has on the family, on the woman, on the baby is unbelievable. And, I just think that your film does so much to examine this topic and to help people understand the ramifications of what happens as a result. So I think, congratulations are in order to you. And, I, for one, and many other people have just been blown away by your skill at doing this. I mean, I know many, many people who say to me, I'm doing a short film. And I'm like, okay, like I don't think necessarily people in prison, but just friends of mine who are actors or actresses and they think, oh, it's not going to be that hard to do it, and then they try it and it's like, but I remember calling you up going, what the like I couldn't believe it. It was so well done, Marci, and such an unbelievably detailed story that deserved to be told, that represents too many people who are incarcerated right now and deserve to have their stories told. So congratulations to you and to Represent Justice for allowing people to see it. And where can people see it, Mars? How
Thanks.
can they see it now?
Yeah, so there's two ways that you can see it right now, and the first way is when you enter My Live. There's a directive that will take you to representjustice.org. You can see the film there. You can also see the film right now for this initiative. You can see the film on my YouTube page through this link. It's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/capital W, capital B, film, WBB film. If any of my moderators would mind putting that in the chat and pinning it, I would really appreciate it. Rosie, I remember it took me a minute to get you to watch the film.
Yes. I know. I just, in my life, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I have a little autistic 13-year-old now. And, I was like, oh, watch this film. Somebody who had been incarcerated for 12 years who never once said to me in our friendship, oh, by the way, I might want to direct a film. Like many, many friends of mine have said that. And I'm always like, well, good luck, but it's not as easy as it seems. So, you sent the link to me, and then you sent the link to me, and then you sent the link to me, and I went, oh, let me check this out, And I remember calling you up going, what the holy hell did you do? And how did you come up with this? And it's just a very beautiful short film. And for somebody who had never done it before, Marci, it's very important. And Represent Justice is, so vital in telling these stories. And if it weren't for Represent Justice, how would people even know? How would people know? So, if you go onto their website, there are many, many films you can see, and you can experience what it feels like to be a member of the community of which people you love are incarcerated, and how that affects the entire world that you're living in. And, I'm just proud of you, Marci, and I'm happy to be here and to speak about Represent Justice because it's so vitally important.
Yeah, thank you. And let me take a pause really quick, because I do see one of a member of the marketing team on Represent Justice, Gordon, is on the live. And Gordon, I just made you a moderator, and I want to call you out because it said you can't make this person a moderator because they don't follow you. So shame on you.
Gordon,
Come on,
come
Gordon.
on, Gordon.
Come on, man.
But then it looks like it let me. So you do have the ability to pin comments. I see you on the comments. I see my kids in the comments, and I certainly appreciate all of the support. So the film is Gordon. It said you didn't follow me. You're in the chat, but
Yeah,
I
come
know
on,
it's
Gordon,
letting
Gordon.
me
Gordon is
What's
now.
going
up
to
with that,
resolve
dude?
that quickly.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and my daughters are watching. They're actually I'm on the front porch because I've got unbelievably a special moment where all three of my daughters are here, and they're in there I have new twin grandbabies. So they are
Oh,
watching.
fantastic.
I want to talk about how the making of the film for me was such a family affair. And I have these two daughters that were in diapers when I went to prison. And I come home and they're middle schoolers, and now they are these beautiful young women in high school. And they were able to be with me on set as production assistants. And Rosie, I put them to work. You would have been proud.
Good, good.
They worked for their money. My parents did they handled all of the food and taking care of the talent and making sure that there was hydration on set and hugs when needed. This was really a heavy film to be on set and to sit with. The main character, the free world mother, Maya, she is my cousin, Haley Hatfield, the
Oh,
beautiful
wow.
Haley Hatfield, and her counter, and there's probably industry terms that I'm not using, but the other lead actress, the incarcerated mother, she was a very good family friend of Haley's. And so just being in that room, my brother and his best friend handled all of the music. And it was just to be in prison for 10 years away from everybody. This was part of I think our family's healing journey to go through the production of the film and to be able to support one another through it. And I see y'all in the comments. The film is called Whispers Beyond Bars, and you can go to representjustice.org and see that film. You can Google my name and Whispers, and it will pop up as well. I just think it was a really a good opportunity for us to come together. And then there was, when I premiered the film in Texas, Represent Justice had a beautiful premiere. The US premiere was done in Los Angeles, so beautifully done. Red carpet. We all felt so special. We felt like stars, Rosie. And
You're a star, Marci.
You are.
it was beautiful. And so I tried to replicate that in a way in my hometown where the film was produced, and where so many of our family and friends came together to make it happen. And I got to sit on the front row with all three of my daughters. You know, my son and daughter-in-law were there, my parents were there, my grandmother was there. But watching the film there on the front row with my three daughters, it really was a full moment. And the way that art can activate people,
Yes.
that it can heal people, it's just so beautiful. So I am so excited to see what the next chapter brings. But also, everybody, don't leave the live, but make sure you go watch the film. It's called Whispers Beyond Bars.
Yes, and in Hamilton they say, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? And who's going to tell the story of incarceration in America? And there's a lot of reform that needs to happen in this area. And Represent Justice does just that. Can you explain, Represent Justice, why you decided to go into filmmaking to do all of this?
Absolutely. I mean, film is such a beautiful visual medium. And one of the things I love about Marci's film is that because it's scripted, which, by the way, kudos to you, Marci, that is a more difficult version to tackle by
Totally.
yourself. You're sort of left to form your own opinions. People aren't necessarily talking to the screen or talking to you specifically. And so it's very intimate, the way that people's minds can be changed and hearts can be changed. in film. And unfortunately, the mainstream practices of film, it is the person with a lot of film school experience, but not a lot of lived experience that gets to shape the story. And so it's a person with power, it's a person with privilege. And one of the things that we wanted to do at Represent Justice is make this practice more accessible to communities and to community leaders. And what was on my mind 6 years ago was not national major figures who always got airtime and always got to go on, media outlets, but just everyday people that were fighting for their communities, that had healed or were in the process of healing, and that wanted people to understand what happened to them so that they could make a different decision in how they talk about the justice system or vote for certain elected leaders in the justice system. And so film just has this beautiful way to capture people's attention all at once, but the practice of film just could really use some attention in focusing on authorship and making sure people with lived experience get the opportunity. I mean, Marci made a huge commitment to herself, to her community, to make sure that this is an opportunity that would change people's hearts and minds. And so that's really, really unique. And we just wanted to really reward that with our own effort and make sure that Marci was supported. So it's really important. And one thing that's really unique, I want to say, about the way that stories are shared about women is that women have such an incredibly unique experience, not just in terms of the drivers that lead to incarceration, but also the barriers to reentry once you've left. But if you look at the amount of experiences, the amount of policies and stories that are shared, it's mostly men. And it's mostly men who don't have any lived experience in the justice system, number one. And as a result, there's not policies that look at the unique experiences of women, and there's no public understanding about what happens to the family. Women are caregivers overwhelmingly. And so there's all these things that people don't understand because the voices of women are missing. So more films that actually uncover what is happening to women and how women are being impacted by the justice system are needed for all of the system to change, because it's
Yes, I
so
agree. I
visible.
completely agree. And Marci, what would what do you think will be the next step for you? Does the success of this film and the way it resonates with people encourage you to do more? Are you thinking about doing another one? And if so, what would be the topic of that?
Yeah, I think that for sure this has encouraged me to see to further craft my skill and to look at other stories that frankly will help get laws passed here in Texas. And I care about the United States as a whole, of course. I'm very familiar with what happens here. I know that this film specifically will be used for Texas policymakers to really look at, well, why do we have this law? And 17 out of 20 were still shackled. Why is it still happening? So we're looking I'm part of Lioness, Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. And so we're looking at statewide policies and priorities that we need to change. But there are two ideas on my heart. Women in Texas and across the country get strip searched often 4 times a day. If you work, you might get strip searched 4 times a day. You get stripped going to and from visitation, to and from education. We know women that turn down education opportunities because they don't want to go through group strip searches. So I do have something in the works surrounding that as a possibility. And then, like you and I talked about, Rosie, doing something around family reunification. You've been with me a lot through this reentry journey with my kids and family and parents and all of that. And so I'm looking at something surrounding that as well.
And did you ever imagine when you were incarcerated that you would be a filmmaker when you got out of this? I mean, it seems like such a big jump from there to here.
I am really fortunate. I did not ever think I would be a filmmaker. I knew I would do something to help. I really thought helping people in prison might even just look like being a pen pal, because that's important also. Everybody has a play in helping the incarcerated population and helping to end mass incarceration in this country. And you speak publicly and online about it. Daniel runs a national organization, and there are people that support those organizations by donating or right incarcerated populations. Everybody has somewhere to play. So I didn't know where that would land, but I I will say that I came home to a huge support system, Rosie. I was
Yes.
fortunate to have my parents, and I have parents that have always told me I can do whatever I set my mind to. And so that confidence was already instilled in me. So I think even as someone who's very aware of that, it makes me appreciate organizations like Represent Justice that help to instill that in people that didn't grow up that way, you know?
Right. They don't have
Um,
that kind of support around them when they get out.
right, right. So I'm not surprised that I made a film because I knew once I had that in my mind that I could do it, if that
Now, a
makes
lot of people on the comments, I'm reading it as I'm speaking to you. Uh, they are asking what you were incarcerated for. Would you like to share that with everyone?
Sure. And I do share that very publicly. And it is definitely, if you follow me on TikTok, you'll hear it come out often.
Yeah.
I got incarcerated for a theft charge. I got a 20-year sentence for theft over $200,000. I did commit my crime. And also, there's several things that can be true at once. The first thing is I knew that that was wrong and I was breaking the law. That's true. It is also true that in that time in my life, I was in mental health crisis and felt a desperation. So that was true also. So there's always lots of factors. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to get people to see the full picture. Crime is not just black and white. And so, yeah, it happened. I got sentenced to 20 years. I spent 10 years incarcerated. I've been on parole for 5 years, y'all. I have 5 more years of parole. Technically, Rosie, I'm still under the
Absurd.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it is a lot. And you invited me. My kiddos are leaving. I love you. You invited me to Ireland. You invited my wife and I. And so that's a whole thing because I'm on parole. That's a whole
Yeah. Will you
another
be
thing.
able to do that, do you think?
Right. It takes months to know. Months to a year. When I say months, 9 to 12 months. So we started the process. Will they let me go? I haven't given them a reason not to. And also, international travel, it's not necessarily a right of someone that's on parole. It's a privilege. So we'll see.
Right. I would love to have you come visit. I would love you and your wife to come here and, just experience the beauty of Ireland and the peacefulness that comes from being in a country that, is morally aligned with your own views and mine as well. Um, so I would like to speak to Represent Justice. What can people do to help you um, make this more possible for other people incarcerated and get the films out there? What is it that people listening now who feel inspired? What can they do?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've got close to 40 films and different types of actions that people can take. And one thing about incarceration is it affects so many of us in so many different ways. And so what I really encourage people to do is go to representjustice.org and just make a selection. A film that speaks to you, definitely watch Whispers Behind Bars. It's just such a powerful, powerful intersectional film. But take a look at different things, different issues that might be closer to you. Watch the film. It's very, very easy. Use it as the alternative to whatever you're expecting to watch today or later today. Watch the film. Think about the justice system in the US in terms of something other than endless punishment. Think about people's humanity. Think about the people who are impacted. Think about people in your own family and the way that you would want them to be treated. And then take an action for any one of the campaigns that are at representjustice.org. Know that you're supporting someone who is directly impacted, sharing their story and trying to make change in their community. And also follow us on all of our platforms at We Rep Justice. We're trying to change the narrative. And the only way that we can do that is if people share these stories, engage with these stories, and take actions to the different campaigns that we have going on. So representjustice.org, watch a film, reframe your own thinking, your own perspective around this system, and then follow us on all platforms and take an action. You know, it's a very low bar to really try to change the culture around something that has done so much harm to so many communities around the country. And you'll begin to see that it's not just about the worst thing that a person's ever done or about making mistakes. It's about a system that is set up to punish and dehumanize in a way that does not make us better, does not make us safe. And if you look around at the media and you look around at different articles and what's happening around the country, if you think that what it feels like when there's state sanctioned punishment all around the country, if it feels like a regression, if it feels like something that is morally wrong, know that the justice system has a lot of those same qualities. It's just hidden from you and kept from you. And so take a moment to watch a film, educate yourself, change the narrative in your own heart and mind, and then take an action.
Yes, I think that's so important. I mean, I know for myself, my daughter was born addicted to drugs and has struggled very much and ran away at 17 and now she's 28 and she's in prison and it's the first time. She had been in jail a bunch of times, but now got sentenced to prison for a couple years. And it is a very big education for me. First of all, to see all of the complications that you need to go through in order to text them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to sign up for a thing that costs money and you have to do, everything costs money. It's like there's these prisons that make so much money for system, not to help these children or these adults, young adults in jail and in prison. And I always say to her, well, she's like, jail is not the same as prison. I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
did not even know that. I was like, well, you've been there before. She's like, Mom, I've never been in prison. And I'm like, well, where were you before? Like I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And there's so many nuances and so many different things that you need to understand and to see how people are treated. Right now, my daughter is 23 hours a day in lockdown in and why? I don't really know because she's 28 and I can't get information and it's very difficult and she doesn't really always understand what's going down and it's very, very complicated. And I mean, I would love to be able to participate in a film about what happens to a family when a child or, and a young adult is arrested and what
Mm-hmm.
happens to their children. She has 4 children under the age of 8, you know, what
Yeah.
happens to those children? And it's criminal in some capacity to think just how horrific the system is set up to not help and to not provide rehabilitation, to only provide punitive punishment.
Yes. Yes.
It's very shocking to me and very, very sad and tragic.
Yeah, there's an $80 billion a year for-profit complex around prison and prison industries, everything from vendors to the private prison operators themselves. And there's no surprise that they've also allied with different government agencies around immigration, last year as well as this year. And, one thing that I think is super, super important is it really is systemic. It's a lack of transparency. It's a lack of education. And there's even in the 13th Amendment an exception clause written that impacts people who've been incarcerated. So if you've been convicted of a crime, even your 13th Amendment rights don't hold up. And that's true across the country as well as far as the US Constitution. So it really is awful, and we need to be talking about it more.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. Marci, is there anything that you want to share with everyone? I mean, I don't know if you're able to also read the comments, but there are so many comments that are coming through about, children who have detoxed on the floor of a prison, and, the heat situation in Texas where so many people are suffering from the fact that there's no air conditioning and there's no that they're dying.
Yeah.
People are dying
Yeah.
from heat suffocation in the prisons in Texas, and I don't know if you're able to do both while we're here, but with my ADHD, I'm I'm able to sort of look at all of it, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I appreciate. First, I want to say that you touched on so many important issues surrounding the ripple effect of incarceration, how it doesn't just affect the incarcerated individual, but the ripple goes on even past family, right? Because when we're talking about taking primary caregivers away from their kids, your kids are going to school with them. And they're now struggling in ways that are very hard for people to understand. And so just the ripple effect of that, I really appreciate that. Yes, I see these comments, and I know several people have brought up the heat in Texas. And I want you to know, I did think for a moment, like, is this something that we should make art about? And a film about, to bring awareness, because Texas prisons and several prisons throughout the South, and not just throughout the South. In fact, California is now right on up there with non-climate controlled prisons in triple digit weather, and people are dying every summer. In Texas, I'll just briefly, for the folks that may not follow me yet, because probably you follow me now, right? I will say that we do have a lawsuit in federal court against the Texas prison system for knowingly housing people in deadly temperatures, in deadly situations. One of the responsibilities of the state is to keep the incarcerated population and their staff safe. Those temperatures, they don't do that. We're losing people every year. I will say that Judge Pittman, he wrote an 80-something page. We had like a preliminary injunction at the beginning of the summer, hoping that they would say, right now we have to do something, because we knew people would die summer of 2025. So right before that, our attorneys filed a preliminary injunction. He ended up coming back saying it's not really plausible to say every prison in Texas, because we incarcerate 140,000 people in our prison system. It's a massive prison system. But he said, but you have proven they're violating the Eighth Amendment. So we feel really good about the lawsuit. So I hope that will give families that might be watching hope. I know that in 2016 or 17, I was incarcerated. There was a lawsuit that the men had filed, but it was only for one unit. It was for the PAC unit. But I remember that gave us hope. I remember laying in the floor on the concrete, and Rosie, I've talked to you in depth about how those hot summers were. We would take toilet water, because if you flushed the toilet a couple times, it would be cool water, and we only had warm water that would come out of the spout. And it seems wild to say now how we would splash toilet water on our bodies and on the floor and lay on it.
Trying to survive, honey, trying to survive.
100%. But I know that lawsuit gave them hope, or gave me hope. And so I hope that as family members are watching that have incarcerated loved ones, that you'll have hope too, because we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting for that.
Good for you. I think that's really wonderful. Um, I had been to prison only a couple times, and one was to visit Martha Stewart, which is a strange thing, but I had never been to dinner with her. I had never spoken to her on the phone, but she had been on my show and I had been on her show in that celebrity vernacular of, you know,
Yeah.
showbiz. And I wrote her a note saying, I think it's horrible what's happened to you, and this happens to men all the time, and they're never punished for this. And if you need anything, and a couple of months into her sentence, her assistant called me and said, would you go visit her? And I went to visit her. And of course, I didn't take a shower. I looked similar to this, like I didn't, get prepared in any way. And I thought, well, this is what prison is like. I had seen the movies, and then she walks out and she looks like she was in a Scavullo photo shoot. She looked gorgeous with her hair perfectly dyed with Jolene cream bleach from the commissary, and her prison garb cinched and looking like I don't even know how to explain it, but I looked like the thug who was about to, like, roll her over in the parking lot. But it was funny because we had never had a conversation, and I was there for 6 hours. And, I said to her, what do you miss most? And you know what she said to me? She said, the flavor of lemon. Like, the flavor of lemon. Like, you have a child, you have dogs, you have, the flavor of lemon. But it just let you know that everybody in prison deals with it in a way that they can process in their own mind and their own brain. I mean, I was like shocked when she said that. I was like, I did say to her, well, if you would have let me know, and I would have snuck one up my hoo-ha. But, it just was something that prison was so far from my reality that I had no understanding of it. I had only seen it in movies. And then, my daughter, who was born addicted, all my children are adopted, and she was born addicted to drugs. And when she was 17, she ran away to her birth family. And, the resulting last 11 years have been horrific. And I never expected in my reality to have to be in this club that you never want to be a part of, to be the mother of a child incarcerated. And it's heartbreaking in every way, shape, or form. And I just hope that everyone out there can try to use all the resources that are available to help them understand and survive the pain that comes with having a child incarcerated. And I know, Marci, for you, your parents were extremely supportive the entire time that you were incarcerated.
They were. I think that when I first got arrested, there was a shock because now my mother will say she knew something was wrong, but she didn't have any idea. Obviously, it was illegal activity or something that would get me arrested. But even with the shock, they still let me know that they were my parents and that they loved me, and my brother the same. Our families very close. I was really fortunate. I was incarcerated with a lot of moms that had kids that they didn't see the entire time that they were incarcerated, and sometimes that was because that wasn't an option financially. Texas is a big state. It costs money to travel. From my house to El Paso, it's a 12-hour drive. So it's no joke where the prisons are, and the prisons are strategically placed very rurally. So that's another, so now we're talking about the cost of getting there, taking off work, having kiddos in a car for that long. But then there were also families that didn't have access to even talk to their kids or really know where they were when they were incarcerated. I was really lucky that my family kept my kids.
Yeah,
travel to see
yes.
them and hear from them. But those visits, they aren't easy. My youngest daughters, they got to know me through prison visitation. And so coming home now to two middle schoolers, I've been home, it'll be 5 years in March. But coming home to that, you're meeting people again, you're learning who they are outside of this place. And yeah, it's the whole experience. And it's not, I know that I have a lot of family members that are in my TikTok community, in my online community. And I always tell you all, and I'll share it again now, is that healing, it's not something that just happens. Like, I didn't come home and everything was great. I came
Right.
home and everybody was happy I was home, but it's a process to get through all of that emotions and all of that. We're still healing. It gets better and better and better, and now it's so good, I feel like, but there's still healing to be done.
Totally.
Incarceration caused my family a lot of harm, and most definitely my children. So
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Marcy. It's so important. Is there anything else you'd like to say in Represent Justice, as a result of this unbelievable, wonderful little video live stream that we're doing? I don't want to, not knowing everything about what you do, is there any other things that you'd like to tell everyone?
I just want people to, first of all, thank you to you, Rosie. Thank you to you, Marcy, for having us along. And I just want people to pay attention to just the healing power of what Marcy is talking about, the healing journey that storytelling can be a part of. Um, as I mentioned, we have films and stories and campaigns, and it's very, very easy to just remain connected by watching something and thinking differently about the world around you. And so what I want to just invite people to do is just follow along at We Rep Justice, and please use this as an alternative to something cruel that you watch, something dehumanizing that you watch, something that doesn't represent your moral values around what it means to be fair and what it means to help families thrive. And so just, I want to invite people to just go to representjustice.org, stay tuned. We work on feature films as well. And just look for the next opportunity to be connected, to connect to this work and support someone like Marcy, who is sharing their story, which is such a brave, incredible, heroic thing to do. And just take the first step, watch something and take an action. So I just want to invite people to go to representjustice.org and do that and just be part of the solution. We all have a role to play, and sometimes it's just being able to change the narrative that exists in our society about these unfair systems.
Yes, I agree. And also be able to care enough to go and watch these films, to care enough,
Absolutely.
to really put yourself maybe in an uncomfortable situation to go, I don't know what this is going to be, but, and then you get something like this beautiful film that Marcy made. And, shocking to me, I have to say, and really beautiful and really important. And, I just want to say some of the people who are asking, aren't you out of the United States? Yes, I have been in Dublin, Ireland for a year. I had read the Project 2025 and felt as though the safest place for me and my mental health and my child's, a non binary 12-year-old, would be out of the country, and that's what I've done. And so I still have American citizenship and always will, and I care very much about the policies, and especially regarding prison and incarceration in the United States. And I always want to use my voice in any capacity that it can help alert people to things that are going on that may not be covered in the mainstream media. So yes, I am living in Ireland right now, and am having a wonderful time with my now 13-year-old. I have a teenager, And I realized they were a teenager when this weekend they slept until noon.
Oh,
And yeah, and I went up and I like opened the door. I'm like, "Hello?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "It's noon." And they were like, "Oh my God, really?" And like, it was definitely the first sign that I have a teenager. But yeah, so I just wanted to clear that up for anyone. There seemed to be a lot of questions about that in the comments.
thank you for that. I don't want to leave today without making sure that I recognize my formerly incarcerated family that also helped with the film. I had um, my there was a scene where there was a scene in the movie where the women in prison were trying to get the officer's attention because there was a medical emergency, which is something that happens often in all kinds of medical emergencies, not just in pregnancy. And I had several women that are formerly incarcerated that were in prison for longer than me as part of that scene. And so I want to make sure and shout out to them for being brave to go back into a setting that looked and felt like prison, to hearing some of those same sounds. And I mean, they really stepped up to help me tell this story, and I couldn't have done it without them. They're amazing, and I see some of them in the comments. So I want to make sure and tell you all how much I love you so much for being my friend and supporting me in prison and home. One of my best friends, Rosie, she did 33 years. She was locked up as a kid, and I was there. She was there with me my whole 10, and then she came home a little bit after me. And to be able to see her sometimes when I look at her, you know how you look at your kids and you see them as little kids sometimes?
Yes.
That's how it is when you've been friends and prison family with somebody. Sometimes even my wife, I'll look at her and I'll see her in her prison uniform, like especially Brittany. I'll see her like from across the like across the unit, and she would be going to her dorm and she'd throw me a heart, and I'd be, and I can see her just. And sometimes when I look at my friend Denise, it's the same. I see her in her prison uniform and I see her, and just, it's amazing. It's amazing how to watch growth and people really heal from that, from incarceration, and chase their dreams, because that's what we're all doing. We're all just out here trying to make it, and some of us have had to go through different paths to get there, but it's just, yeah. So thank y'all, and I love y'all so much, and I appreciate my family on here so much for supporting also.
Excellent. Well, I just want to thank everybody tonight for participating in this. And Whispers Behind Bars is the beautiful film that Marcy made. Shockingly brilliant to me, because I was like, she just got out of jail and she's going to make a movie. And she did. And it's great. It's really, really wonderful. And, I could go on for hours about how did you cast it? How did you do all this? But, the intricacies of filmmaking is not really what this day is about. It's about really thinking about incarcerated people, especially women, and how we can help uh, them get through what they have to go through. Sorry, what's that, Mars?
No, I had to get, the sun keeps lowering on my front porch, and I realized I could move. I'm mobile, so I
Oh
moved
yeah,
over
you're
here.
mobile.
And
You can move. You're a free woman out in the free world, sweetheart. You are.
right.
And you can do
Yes.
that whenever you
Yeah.
need to.
I wanted to say, you had to keep saying how shocked you were that it was good, Rosie.
No, I mean
I love
honestly,
you so
I've
much.
had
You
people
played such
listen.
a incredible part, though. As I was going through film training and school, I think I lost you.
No, no, I'm
Did I
here.
freeze, or did y'all
No, no, we can
freeze?
still hear you,
We
Marcy.
hear you. You're good.
Oh no.
We hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Going through the process of, I would go to the cohorts at Rep Justice, and I would always fly in a little early and stay with Rosie, and going through the process of talking through some of the creative processes and hearing some of her ideas was invaluable. And how much I appreciated that also. And, giving me confidence as I was walking into these spaces with these incredible change makers and revolutionaries, quite frankly. Yeah, so I appreciated that as well. And thank you so much for your time and joining us today. And I know you're not feeling great, and I hope you feel better. Thanks for
Yeah, my red nose, my Rudolph the red nose. I have a very bad congestion, but my kid had it all last week, and I was like, "Look at me, I didn't get sick." And then kaboom, everybody else got it. So I should say, "Okay, it's my turn." But listen, I love you, Marci, and I think you're really inspirational, and you did an amazing job. And the only reason I keep saying how shocking it is that so many actors and actresses send me their movies, and I always am like, And when you said it to me, it took a while for me to watch it, and then I was like, holy shit, this is great. And it really is great, and it really moved me, and I just want to tell you that how inspired I am to have you as a friend, and you and your wife and your children and your family, and it's been a beautiful addition to my life, and I'm very grateful to have you in my world. So keep doing what you've been doing, and as far as represent justice, these are the people that do God's work here on earth, and keep doing what you're doing, and keep, the prison complex, the military, the industrial prison complex is tragic, and it's something that, when you look at other nations in the world and where we stand, it's pretty shocking. And I think that it's wonderful that you get to do what you do here in the United States while there still is time for you to do that. And if there's anything that you want to close with, I'll leave the last comment to you.
Just gratitude, Rosie. First of all, thank you for the way that you've supported Marci. Thank you for using your platform to speak out about this issue that affects so many people who are silent about it or powerless to really change the narrative and the circumstances. So thank you. And Marci, it's just been such an honor to support you. The power is all within you. The film just translates it in a way that people can see it and understand it. So thank you for the work that you do. And we're just here to support. It's an honor. It's a privilege. And for folks watching, please be a part of the solution. Be a part of this village. Be a part of changing people's hearts and minds around punishment and around the legal system in the U.S. So go to representjustice.org, find a way to get involved. There's some really, really compelling stories and campaigns there. And just thank you. Thank you both for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And this has been wonderful. And I hope everybody had a great time. And to all the Trumpers who keep writing, haha, Trump's your president, all I have to say is, just wait, just you wait, just you wait. Here we come. The truth always rises in the end, and we'll all be here for what's coming. So peace out to everyone, and may we all continue to fight for justice in the United States of America, and believe in the Constitution, and resist tyranny and fascism at every end. So thank you so much. And Mars, call me in like 15 minutes. I gotta go give Clay some food.
Okay, sounds wonderful.